I would like to start our review with a kind ask to all of you. Please forget that I am nearly 50 years old, 190 centimeters tall and 100 kilos. Now I am going to hypnotize all of you. Please imagine that I am only 16 years old, 180 centimeters tall and a thin guy like this, because this is the typical target of our motorbike we are reviewing today, the KSR Moto TW125X model, which is really totally nice and good enduro for the youngsters. Maybe for nearly all of us, this brand KSR Moto is absolutely unknown. It's a relatively new Austrian brand, just as in the logo you can read that they are belonging to Austria. They are a relatively new company. They bought the previous existing brand generic and they started to produce motorbikes especially for the youngsters with smaller cubic capacity. But the previously known brand, also a new brand, Brixton, is also belonging to them. And they are pretty successful if we check their sellings. So it's really worth to speak about this new motorbike as well. Of course, as it is written around the red, white, red Austrian flag on the back of the motorbike, it's Design Austria, so only the design and the planning of the motorbike was made in Austria, and of course the quality control is also made by Austrians, but the bike itself, it's produced in China. This is the way the price can be as good as it is. From that model was made the X version, which is the enduro one, with a bigger front wheel. Instead of 17, it's 19 inch, and on a way like this became an enduro, but this as the basic model is the Supermoto, it's going to be important later. And all in all, the whole motorbike is not a small piece at all. It's the technical data we know very poor about it. What we know is that the overall length is more than 220 centimeters and the seat is approximately 850 millimeters tall from the ground, and this is really a comfortable bike. If you check out, even for me, it's absolutely a good seat position. So taller youngsters can ride on it absolutely nice and comfortable way, and if somebody is shorter, then the manufacturer is ready for this problem, and with changing one small piece of iron in the rear suspension, they can lower the seat height of the bike. Luckily, the bike is not too heavy, it's 138 kilos. The only thing we do not know if this is a ready to ride or a dry weight of it, but anyhow it's not heavy. Of course it's not a racing enduro, it's only a normal street enduro. The reason why I made the bike to this angle is that all of you shall see that the bike has a double cradle frame under the engine, and the engine itself is a totally old, let's say ancient Chinese engine, which is surely made on the basics of an even older Japanese one. It's totally air cooled and the maximum power output is only 8 kilowatts, so a little bit more than 11 brake horsepower, which is absolutely far away from the top of the A1 riders category, but as a beginning bike for a youngster, it's absolutely enough. The suspension of the bike is absolutely oversized, especially the first telescopic forks. We do not know the data of them, but as we check, let's say visually it, they are around 48 to 50 millimeter thick, I don't know, and the travel is also pretty long, and they are upside down ones, so they could really belong even to a racing enduro. But the building of them is not absolutely the same. The front telescopic forks are a little bit too hard for the enduro behavior of the motorbike, because when you are riding on especially bad asphalt roads or riding off-road on big stones and things like this, then they are a little bit too hard. So they are surely coming from the Supermoto, let's say, basic model, and they weren't changed for the enduro version. And this is a small problem, because they could be a little bit softer if you really use the bike as an enduro. The front brake and the rear one are also disc brakes, and according to the laws for this category, the 125 cubic centimeter category, the ABS is not necessary, but the combined brake system CBS is. That's why the TW also has a combined brake system. It means that in the front we can find a 3-piston caliper, and from the 3 pistons, one of them is operated by the rear brake and the 2 others are operated by the front brake. So with your right foot you are braking the rear and the front as well, and the whole brake system is I could say more or less well dosable and pretty effective, related to the top speed of the bike. In the rear central suspension unit we cannot change any parameters, just on the same way as on the front telescopic forks, but it has a progressive spring and it's behaving pretty well, we can say so. Only the really worst roads and harder off-road are making it on the limit. Otherwise it's working absolutely well, even on the not too good quality Hungarian roads. And as you can see in the rear brake we have 2 lines going to it and coming out from it. With the pedal you are pushing the liquid here, and through a fitting it immediately goes back, goes under the fuel tank and coming up here, and together with the first brakes line, both of them are going down to the front disc brake. When I started to ride with the motorbike, I found a pretty big problem that these 2 brake cables are totally covering the very small and not even too informative, let's say, dashboard, because I cannot see the indicator lights, I cannot see the current speed, and I cannot see the counter at all. I can see only the RPM counter on the top of it and the light which shows that the fuel tank went to its reserve. But later on I realized that the typical rider of this motorbike, the 16-year-old youngsters who are very active and full of adrenaline, are not sitting like a grandfather like me, I'm not a grandfather, on the motorbike, but they are sitting like this, actively pulling the throttle to the maximum all the time. And from this body position the whole dashboard is clearly seeable. Previously I promised to you that I'm going to speak about the let's say speed and dynamism of the TW125X version. This motorbike is really designed for the 16-17-year-old beginner motorbikers who just got the A1 driver or rider's license. And for them I'm really sure this is a nearly perfect motorbike. Because when starting to ride, and let's be honest, youngster who just started riding a bike always wants to pull the throttle as hard as he or she just can. And on this bike it's possible to do it without that the bike is punishing us, because we pull it all the time to the maximum and we are not riding too fast, as the top speed of the bike, and now the hypnotizing at the beginning of the review is has to be forgotten, because the bike had to carry my 100 kilos plus the helmet and clothes and everything else, and with this load the top speed was just a little bit over 100 kilometers per hour when the road was going down a little bit. when it was flat and there was no wind, and it was according to the speedometer, it was around 98 kilometers per hour, but the acceleration is enough for the everyday traffic. And of course we are pulling the throttle all the time, and I'm really on the opinion that on public roads riding it's much safer with the motorbike with ABS. But if somebody is just starting riding the motorbike with this combined brake system and without the ABS, the electronic management, it's much better to learn how to brake it. What the feeling is it when the rear wheel is slipping and things like this. So it's really a good bike to learn how to ride a motorbike properly, and it's not punishing us so hard as a strong bike. And a very good thing of this TW is that as we are always pulling the throttle to the maximum, even while riding or splitting the lane among the cars, the sound of it is really strong and really nice. And when we are pulling the throttle among the cars, then the sound is really going in front of us so much that the cars are opening the line for us just on the way as we are riding with an Akrapovic exhaust sport bike. And finally, maybe one of the biggest weapons of the TW KSR Moto Enduro, the price of it, because here in Europe it's far under 3,000 euros. Everybody can calculate it to their own money, and it's really a very cheap and good price for, let's say, a father who is buying the first motorbike of his son. If you liked our review, please push a thumb up. In the description under the film you can find the link where you can donate our work. If you do it, then we send all of our films to you before their publicity. If you haven't done it yet, please subscribe for our channel and watch our previous films and reviews as well. Thanks a lot for your attention.